Hello, welcome to Best Top 5. Today we're talking about remakes. Remakes are everywhere. You can't stop them, and I guess I'm an old fart because I can't stand the fact that there's too many remakes. They're remaking Child's Play now, and they're gonna be remaking the X-Men movies 5 years from now, eventually. It's not gonna stop. But, you know, I think there should be a stopping point, like a point where certain movies should not be touched. And we're gonna be talking about the top 5 movies that shouldn't be touched. And of course, as an honorable mention, you know, just for me, for the sake, please don't ever touch Freddy Got Fingered. That movie should never be touched, ever. As a Tom Green classic.
What about a sequel, though?
A sequel, yes, written by Tom Green, starring Tom Green, bring back Drew Barrymore. Those two should get married again and divorced and whatever. I want to see a sequel, but no remake. So let's go with number 5. Number 5 is The Wizard of Oz. This is a movie that came out in the 1930s. It's a classic movie, and it's had a bunch of sequels and readaptations. It's had a really good sequel that was made by Disney called Return to Oz. It's pretty dark. Not many people remember it. Even Disney has tried to put that into the vault, way deep into the vault. I don't even think it's ever gonna get a proper release on something like a Disney platform, like Disney Plus. But anyway, the original one is a movie that I've seen since I was a kid. It's aged very, very well, and it has so many memorable lines. It'd be a shame if this movie gets remade. If this movie actually gets remade, it just shows that all they really care about is making another buck. Sure, I'm not, against there being another sequel or another sort of a spin-off, but an actual scene-by-scene remake of this movie would be an insult. Number 4 is Forrest Gump. This is a movie that's universally loved by everyone. I can't think of anyone who doesn't like this movie. It's a simple story. It's a story of a man who's not very smart, but he's very determined. He becomes an inspiration for so many people. And it's also kind of a tragic love story between him and this woman named Jenny, and Jenny doesn't really care about him. Jenny, I can say so many things about her, but this is a very PG show, so we'll reserve that for another video where I can rant so much about her character. This is a movie that is perfect as is. There's no need to remake this movie. I don't even want a sequel or a prequel, nothing. It's lightning in a bottle, and it should be reserved as is. Will it get remade? I hope not, but money talks, so it might get a remake. You never know. This movie was very successful in the 90s. It made Tom Hanks a household name. He was already known by this point, but even more so after this movie, because when you think Tom Hanks, usually Forrest Gump comes to mind. Number 3, The Exorcist. Yes, The Exorcist has had a lot of sequels, and all the movies about, exorcisms have been made. A lot of Italian rip-offs and other ones that were released in the 80s, like the Monitou, and even a prequel that explains the whole origin of the Pazuzu demon and Father Marin's faith and the religion, all that other stuff. Just the same way that Jaws scared people from never going back into the water, The Exorcist did the same thing with people being scared of demons and religion, and there was even people who fainted when this movie came out. And of course, when you watch it today, it's very tame in comparison to other movies, but it's still so good because it doesn't really concentrate on horror that much. When you watch the first hour and 10 minutes of that movie, it's really the fall of faith of a man who he's having problems with his mother who's, dying. He doesn't know if he still believes in God, and you have the side story of Reagan. And it's not until the end of the film that you start seeing the whole exorcism taking place. And it works very well as a supernatural film. If you watch some of the other sequels, they all are straight up horror, an exception of Dominion and Exorcist 3, which were more like thrillers. Those work better, but with the original Exorcist, what's so iconic about the film, outside from those crazy things that happens, is the acting from all the actors. And it would be hard to cast these characters again. It's hard to do this story in a way that's original because it's been done to death. The whole possession and the power of Christ compels you, it's been done so many times that I don't think it can be done. But, every company is looking for whatever IP they have to remake because they need to get money. That's all they care about, to get people, get their butts into seats and just pay for whatever movie they're watching. They don't care if it's good or bad. They'll probably get a remake. I hope it doesn't. Number 2, Back to the Future. Now this is a movie that will definitely not get a remake, probably never. And thank God, because this movie, written by Bob Gale and directed by Robert Zemeckis and produced by Steven Spielberg, There's a contract that Bob Gale has on his will that even after his death, his children will not get his money unless this movie is never remade. It stayed in his estate that this movie will never, ever get touched. Starting in the 80s, you were seeing these remakes pop up. So he knew what was coming forward, and now you have way too many of them. Back to the Future is a perfect story. The effects still hold up, the acting still holds up, comedy still holds up. And again, just like The Exorcist, I can't see anyone else playing Marty. I can't see anyone else playing Doc Brown. Yeah, you have now Rick and Morty, which is an inspiration of Back to the Future. But even that, believe it or not, I don't want to watch it. I've heard it's good. Don't get me wrong, I've heard it's really good. But I'm so enamored by that first film that any inspiration, I haven't even seen the animated series of Back to the Future, mind you. I've only seen that trilogy. And that trilogy alone is enough. I hope that they stay true to the will of Bob Gale's wishes, and this movie will never ever get touched. Another movie in this, number 1, is The Godfather. The Godfather 1 and 2 are perfect movies. To me, it's just one big giant movie. 3 we don't really talk about. I don't think it's the worst movie in the world, but it is very inferior to the first 2. Those 2 movies should never, ever, ever, ever get touched. They are a masterclass of cinema. Francis Ford Coppola, who hasn't done a good movie since, like, I don't know, probably Apocalypse Now, and he's trying to re-edit that movie. I don't know why. He did such a good job with these 2 Godfather movies with the acting of Robert De Niro, Marlon Brando, James Caan, all these actors. And this is a movie that gets studied a lot even in film school because of the filming techniques, the editing. And this is a time where all editing was still done the old-fashioned way. This wasn't done digital or anything like that. And you can see a lot of small details that a lot of modern movies don't get, because most modern movies are edited so hectically. Not all of them, but a lot of modern action movies and modern dramas even get edited so awkwardly because people have shit attention spans. But if you watch The Godfather, it takes its time with all the characters. It takes its time developing the story. It's not something that is haphazardly edited. Everything was so well done, and it's marvelously written by Mario Puzo. This is something that it would not just be a shame, it would be a direct insult to the work that was put in by Francis Ford Coppola, the cast, the writers, to see this movie get bastardized. Like, I'm not trying to insult whoever would want to do this, but it's just unnecessary. It would just be like a poor marketing decision. Even filmmakers would probably feel this way. It doesn't need to be remade. So these are the top 5 films that should never be touched. Leave them alone. I already said in the beginning of the video that stop with the remakes. We're getting a Child's Play remake. Why? Why? It looks like garbage. It looks worse than the 1980s model that was done with animatronics. I know this one's done with animatronics too, but that one actually looks like an evil doll, you know, and this looks like a cheap dollar store knockoff. Anyway guys, hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, subscribe, share this video with all your friends. Let me know which movie you don't want to ever see remade. I know there's a lot of them that I didn't mention. Leave it on the comment section down below. And until next time.